Giru Lore, Public Access, Chapter 3. First Contact, 2026, December 15th. First Impressions, Second Chances. Firebase Phoenix, Renegade Island. Chimera, a long since renowned term for a synthetic monster hunter. Made real, if you could call it that. A team of 12 exists. They must work together or die trying. Being not human does not trigger the parasite to become aggressive towards them. Their only chance to get in without fighting endless crowds. Only one infected seems to react. Not a normal shadow claw, something bigger, and it has a weapon. The team knows to stay quiet and push on. As they progress further through the compound, mostly being ignored by the infected, they reach a sign saying Overseer Stafford Velfelix next to an office. Empty. Then, just a few doors ahead, Director. The name was scratched off the placard. The lack of power in the facility allows them to enter without a key card. Inside was him, the actual director, sitting there, staring at them. Take a seat. You didn't exactly book an appointment, but I'll let it slide since I'm not busy, said the director through a very raspy voice and skin so dark it consumed the lights shining on it. You're alive, said two separate chimeras. Yes, well, we all are we not? But, I can't quite recognize you. Are you of the same strain as the rest of us? Altered, maybe? Said the director. A chimera was about to speak up in confusion when his team lead stopped him halfway. Ah, yeah, you see, we're quite the mutated strand. More flexibility and all. He glances back at his chimera with a discerning look. As you can see, we are quite better off than your fellows in the front. Indeed, my brother, I'm sure you've many under your thighs. Though, how did you manage yourself here? As far as I'm aware, the island has been empty for quite some time. The chimera, realizing that there is no more that could be said, and that they were looking at no regular infected, prepped their weapons, began firing, and made their way to the exit, seeing as shooting this guy only pissed him off. The scene is quite odd to many, but this is the first look at an RMT rapidly mutating target. This RMT, the director, would be designated BB-001 and would be, due to having no effect being shot by high caliber rifles, placed as highly lethal and avoided at all costs. Since contact lists were for regular units, though the chimeras themselves would be the ones that place this label on it. First contact, again, 2026, December 25th, New Edge Day. CCF Laboratory, Beta 7, California. Back to the heart of the epidemic. The now 14 chimeras mostly seem to be fuzzy on the details, having thought they already completed their mission, but now they must complete this one too, or die trying. But of course they will die trying. They likely already have. Arriving to the start of it all, their initial job is SSE. Get what they can, avoid infection, get out, especially if they can identify whether Operations Chief Jendian is dead or alive, and ensure the infection hasn't reached him. The insertion is swift, the facility quiet, unnervingly quiet. It made the chimeras almost go mad from the silence, yet they held themselves. There seemed to not be a soul left here, just the blood stained on the walls of those who used to call this place home. They worked their way through every sublevel. Sublevel 25, empty. 24, even more empty. 23, once again, empty. Except now there was what seemed to be an uninfected corpse. No name tag on their torso. No name tag. Their torso was left a massive gaping cavity. As they worked their way to sublevel 20, a sense of dread filled over the chimeras. Not the there's a lot of dead people dread. The something is awfully wrong kind of dread. The kind of dread nuclear engineers would feel when their instruments are showing all good, but their reactor is going critical. Like a sixth sense telling them all was not fine. And all wasn't. because the so-called Operations Chief Jandian was not the one at this facility. Not now. And as the Chimera searched for answers, they viewed a lot of dead facility guard. They viewed a dead facility guard's helmet cam footage. All that we know had happened, but the chief, who was not in this section either, did not meet his demise, nor was he infected. Rather, PB-005 would allow him and show him an escape hatch hidden in the research sublevel, and not that he even knew about it. Was he colliding with the parasite? An exception? Immune? What was clear was that he was alive, and the exit was now going to be the Chimera's route. While very snug, especially for the bulky Chimeras, they were able to fit into the tunnel, now dragging along a cold, dead concrete hall. Once they reach the end, it's only a single, very tall metal ladder, and up it they will go. Reaching the hatch, the Chimera team lead blasts the hatch off its hinges. Quote, "I hate tight spaces. Anything cramped pisses me off," end quote. The pointman chimes in, quote, "Too right, sir," end quote. As they climbed out, they're blinded from above. Before we dig a bit too far, why don't we back up? On the same day, Angelian and Filipino Marines of IJDF-M from Giru are inserted into Firebase Phoenix. While knowing their survivability is low, they've survived sustained combat in the wars that Angelia has sustained and is mentally prepared for the carnage that will pursue. Or so they hope. First contact was nothing like P1 had described. There was no courtyard infected, no high-density population. It was quiet. But they had breached through the front door. There stood a big one. This guy loomed over even the 6'2" marksman, Junior Sergeant Josiah Martinez. He was massive. And two, he was armed and seemed to know how to use it. As he drew on the Marines, everyone dived for cover, though the less than fortunate Junior Sergeant would catch a stray round to the neck, just barely stopping in his Kevlar collar. The rest returned fire, this unit of a Shutterclaw, tanking every round as the Angelian team lead, Battle Sergeant Reginald Dallas ran out of rounds in his mag. He ordered a retreat. As they moved back to the courtyard, the Filipino Marines, having wanted to take point, had taken major casualties, while the Angelian Marines still sustained heavy casualties, less. About 60% of deployed forces during this raid were casualties, with less than 10% surviving. But with the sacrifice of what was approximately 100 men, came the intel on BB-002. One of the Angelian Marines that managed himself to the front and survived had been able to report a name tag identifying one O-S1 Stafford Felfelix. Giru reported this secondary target on the RMD list and priority kill list. With the background of Felfelix being a major operations specialist division commander and having trained one of the most infamous units known to man, having already been encountered being an armed and lethal hostile, CCF and Giru stand in agreement that this RMT would be the next priority for neutralization.